Welcome back, everyone, to another OKest recap. We've got a number of things to cover today, so we're going to jump straight into the quick news. There's three things to go over in our quick news today. A new handheld from Sony is rumored to be coming out in the next couple of years. A 7840U Linux handheld coming from Orange Pi. And new drivers for the 7840U that include frame insertion. We'll start off first with the new Sony handheld that's rumored. So we have an article from WCCF Tech where we learn that apparently Sony is working on a new PlayStation handheld that's going to have 18 CUs and a 1.8 GHz GPU, which apparently is clocked at that speed for compatibility with PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 titles. The rumored device is apparently powered by AMD and it's in early development, so we're not going to see this for at least another couple of years if this turns out to be true. There's a video from Moore's Law is Dead, that's the original source for this information apparently, so if you're interested in checking that one out, I'm going to drop that in the description. And of course, because this is so early on, I don't really have much more information, so check out that video if you're interested, and I'll keep you guys up to speed as I learn more. The next item to cover in our quick news is a new device that runs a Ryzen 7 7840U and it's apparently shipping with Linux. The device is called the Orange Pi Neo. Apparently it comes in two colors, which is white and black. As mentioned before, it's going to be running a Ryzen 7 7840U. It supposedly has a 7-inch 1200p display with a 120Hz refresh rate. It'll have two configurations of 16 or 32 gigabytes of RAM, two trackpads, Hall effect joystick, Hall effect triggers, a 2280 size SSD, a 50 watt-hour battery, and we'll be running Linux. We got our first look at an actual device at FOSDEM 2024, so check out that hashtag on X and you'll see more information. It seems that they had a demo unit at the event where people could actually try it out. And from what I gathered, it seemed like there was one device there that people could take a look at. And this was the best image I could find online to give you a bit of a preview of what it looks like. We're going to have to wait to see if this actually materializes into an actual device. They did announce a 6800U device a while back and it never actually released. So let's see if this turns into something. I'll keep you guys up to speed, of course, as I learn more about this. And the last bit of quick news is that there's new drivers for the 7840U that have frame insertion built in. This is no longer in beta, it's actually a part of the main driver now. If we head over to AMD's website, we can take a look at the changelog. We're going to briefly go over it today. Starting off with new game support, we have support for Tekken 8 and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. We also have new product support for the RX 7600 XT as well as the Ryzen 8000 series desktop processors. And as mentioned before, we now have AMD Fluid Motion Frames, which is called AFMF. Which, if you aren't familiar, it boosts the FPS up to about 97% according to AMD, but yeah, you're going to get almost double the frame rate. Of course, these are inserted frames, so you want to make sure you turn on AMD anti-lag to make sure that you're not getting too much input delay. I've been testing it out for a little bit, and when you combine it with FSR3, it really is a game changer. As we go through these next few slides, feel free to pause the video if you'd like to see them further, but I'm going to go through them pretty quickly and I'm going to skip over a few things. Alongside the AMD Fluid Motion Frames, we also get AMD Video Upscaling, which can upscale videos up to 4K for DirectX 11 applications such as Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, and Media Player. We also have Content Adaptive Machine Learning Text Detection, which is something that can improve clarity up to 4K. We have the new AMD Smart Technology tab, which shows up in the AMD app. We have AMD Assist, as well as additional OS feature support. There is also some additional information for AMD Fluid Motion Frames if you're interested, so pause the video and give this a read if you'd like. We also have more information for the AMD Video Upscaling as well as the AMD Technical Preview driver, so give those a look if you're interested. And that's going to do it for my quick news. Let me know what you think of these topics. Do you think the PS Vita 2 is actually going to materialize? Is it going to be something that actually happens? And what about the Orange Pi device? Is this something that you would consider? Are you guys looking for a Linux device? And for the new 7840U drivers, is this something that you guys have tested out? Let me know what your thoughts are on it. And now that our quick news is completed, let's head over to the MSI updates. For the MSI Claw, there's a couple things to cover today. The first one is a apparent release date of April 1st, and this is coming from a Spanish website that has a target release date or the shipping date as April 1st. This could, of course, just be a placeholder date. We don't know for sure because we haven't had any official word on when exactly the device is releasing. But this would line up with what they've been saying, that it would be coming in the first half of 2024. They didn't really confirm whether it was first quarter or second quarter. So April 1st could very well be a believable date, but we'll have to wait to see until we get official word from MSI. The second bit of news is that MSI has now confirmed that the display will actually be a VRR display, something that has been debated for a little while and hasn't really had a clear answer. So this article comes to us from The Verge, where the original title of the article was that it actually did not have a VRR display. And after putting out their article, they were corrected, and it seems that MSI has now confirmed that it will in fact have a VRR display, and it's going to have a range between, I think it was 48 Hertz up to 120. So this is really great news. I did lose a bet though to CPPC Tech, where I have to donate some money to a local charity because I was saying that it was not going to have VRR. But I'm not going to lie, I'm very happy to lose this one. If it has a VRR display, that's going to be definitely a perk for this device. And one last thing for the MSI Claw is MSI has put out a tutorial video on setting up your device, so if you're interested in checking that one out, I'll leave that link in the description. Of course, as usual, I will be putting together some kind of guide for this, so stay tuned for that one as well. Hopefully I can add some extra tips that they don't include in their video. And of course, if you are planning to get this device, I'd recommend checking out their videos so you can get a head start so that when you receive it, you know what to do to get it going. So my question to you guys, I've asked this before, but I always like engaging with you guys in the comments. Is this a device that you're considering? Are you curious to see its performance versus the Z1 Extreme? I plan to get one for the channel, so let me know what you guys are interested in seeing and how you want to see it compared. And that's going to do it for the MSI news. Let's head over to the Legion Go. For the Legion Go, we're going to cover the update that Lenovo sends out every Friday. So they're going to go over the path forward. They're going to talk about what they changed in the latest update, as well as things that they're aware of and still working on. So the first section in the Friday update is for Legion Space version 1.0.2.7, and this just came out this last Thursday. Some of the changes that we saw were integration of driver and BIOS updates, so they're still opt-in. They're not going to automatically happen. So for those that have an ROG Ally, you know that it can be kind of annoying when your device decides to upgrade its BIOS, I guess when you're not really wanting it to. I'm glad that they decided to go with opt-in instead of opt-out, so it's not going to happen unless you want it to happen. On my Ally, it happened, and then I had to go turn off the settings so it wouldn't happen again, so we shouldn't run into that issue here. They added customizable fan curves, they've added the ability to set the controller's sleep duration. They've also added an FPS limiter, added settings for the left and right trigger travel adjustment. You can also reset your response curves as well as your dead zones to the default values if you go a little too crazy with it and kind of mess it up. They also added the ability to toggle the LED light on the power button, as well as added 8 additional languages. One thing to note is I'm actually one of the beta testers for the Legion Space software, and somebody had leaked the 1.0.2.6, which another creator had posted the link for it, something that we're not supposed to do. And the reason for this is that there's a reason that there's testers. We test this out, make sure that there's no bugs, and if there is bugs, we report them so that it can get fixed for the next official release. So in this case, they actually skipped this particular update and they moved straight to 1.0.2.7, and that's because of these bugs that we had found. So if you're seeing leaked BIOS files or leaked Legion Space software, I would recommend staying away until it's actually released publicly, because there's often bugs that sometimes might actually damage your device. Thankfully, we haven't run into any of those, but just keep in mind that that's something that can happen, so do not click on those links. I personally will not be sharing those on this channel. Anyways, back to the updates. So the installation of BIOS version 29, apparently some people have been having some issues, but there's some general tips you can follow. When the system reboots, the white bar is going to go to 100% fairly slowly, so you're going to need to be patient. You're going to have your screen turn on and off, and sometimes it's going to sit there hanging for a while. Do not reset the device, just leave it alone. It sometimes takes 2 to 3 minutes. So I know it can be tempting to hit the power button or to reboot it. Don't do that. You want to leave it alone when it's doing a BIOS update. This is the time that's probably the most dangerous as far as updates go. And when it does its final reboot, that's when I was talking about it may take 2 to 3 minutes. Just be very patient. It will complete. For me, BIOS updates have taken usually about 2 to 3 minutes before the device boots on. A couple more updates for some issues that people have been experiencing, the first one being custom TDP. So there are 3 settings that are required for full TDP control. There's SPPT, FPPT, and TDP. Currently, there's only one that's implemented and it's not working properly, so this is something that they're going to be trying to fix as soon as they can, so stay tuned for that. I, for one, am excited for when this custom TDP is fully fixed. It's really helpful when you're doing benchmarks so that you can actually hit the target that you're aiming for. And another issue that some users have reported is the SD card stutter. There was a new beta driver for the SD card reader, so this has apparently helped some users. So if you're experiencing this issue, I would strongly recommend joining Lenovo's gaming community and finding the link on the website there. If you guys want, I can drop that in the video description as well. Aside from that, Lenovo is looking to integrate the AMD fluid motion frames into their driver. So the Legion Go uses a custom AMD driver. It's not the standard 7840U driver that you see on some other handhelds, although you can sideload it on if you want, and it does work perfectly fine. So this is something that they're working on, although there are a number of steps that they have to go through. I believe there's some connection that they make with AMD while they go through this process. So hopefully we get one soon, but we don't have an ETA. I'll keep you guys up to speed as soon as I learn more about this. And lastly, they identified 5 key priorities that they're working on. So the first one is the custom TDP fix. The second is key mapping support. The third is improving gyro support. The fourth will be battery charge limiting. And lastly, the inclusion of FPPT and SPPT controls for the TDP control. It's nice getting these Friday updates from Lenovo. We get a bit of a look into the behind the scenes of what they're working on and what's coming up next, as well as some of the barriers that they face. So it seems that they're very committed to trying to get this to work better, and I'm really happy to see that. So I'll keep you guys posted as I keep learning more, and hopefully we'll get that custom TDP fixed soon. And that's all that I've got for the Legion Go, so let's head over to the ROG Ally. For the ROG Ally, there's a couple things to go over. The first one is a new update to Armory Crate that adds some sliders to the command center. Now from the command center, we can directly adjust SPL, SPPT, as well as FPPT. If you aren't sure what I'm talking about, let me quickly show you. If we open up the command center, you can see that there's 3 new sliders under the operating mode that we can adjust. So I'll show you where the home of these were previously. So if we go into the Armory Crate app, and go into operating mode, this is where we used to have the sliders, so basically they've just made them a little bit more accessible. It's a simple change, but for someone that does a lot of benchmarking, I do appreciate it because I do toggle between 15 watt and 30 watt quite frequently. In the update that ASUS posted, we can see that they've added a few other things as well, and they're also talking about the AMD fluid motion frames. That's something that they're working on implementing as well. It seems that this is something that everybody's working on, so hopefully we'll get an update soon. I know on the ROG Ally, because it is a native landscape display, there isn't as many issues as we get with a portrait display, so hopefully this will be a smooth process. The next bit of ROG Ally news is that apparently there is going to be an ROG Ally 2. So we learned this through an interview with Tech Exclusive. So we don't have a ton of information. All that we've really heard is that they are planning a device for 2024. We don't have a ton of information on the ROG Ally 2, but I'm going to guess it's going to be coming maybe second half of 2024, maybe the third quarter, fourth quarter. We don't have any information on what it's going to be running. I don't think it would be a stretch to assume that it would be running the successor to the Z1 Extreme, so probably the Z2 Extreme if they're going to call it that. So what we can pull out of this is that there is going to be an ROG Ally 2, and it's probably coming sometime later this year. So I guess the ROG Ally was something that they considered to be successful enough to continue to make, revisions of it. So what are your guys' thoughts on having annual revisions of these devices? Is this something that you're game for, something that you're not really fond of? You know, the Steam Deck, it's basically out for a few years before we get a new one, where it looks like maybe they're going to be going with annual refreshes for the ROG Ally and probably the Legion Go. So let's chat about it in the comments. Is this something that you're game for, or something that you're just going to skip and wait till something, maybe the ROG Ally 3 or 4 comes out? And yeah, that's all that I've got for the ROG Ally, so let's head over to the Steam Deck. I've got a couple products to go over this week, but we've got the Nexode Pro series from Ugreen as our first product. We've got a 65 watt, a 100 watt, and a 160 watt. We'll first take a look at the 160 watts. So you have 3 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A, and then looking at the other side, we have our fold-out wall plug and the amperage and voltage compatibility that this charger can do. Next, we'll take a look at the 100 watts. So this one I had looked at previously, but I figured I'd include it in this video. We have 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A, and of course it comes in a very small package. And lastly, we've got the most compact of the bunch, which has 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A and 65 watts of power delivery. Next, we're going to test out the 65 watt charger with the ROG Ally. So for this test, it's going to be very simple. I'm just going to plug in the 65 watt and I'm going to use both USB-C ports to see if I can get 30 watt turbo mode. I honestly don't anticipate any issues, but let's test just to be sure. First up, we're going to test to make sure that the lower port can actually deliver enough power for turbo mode, so let's test that out now. And looks like we're good to go for 30 watt turbo mode, so let's move on to the second port. And you can see that it works on both ports, so you don't have to distinguish which one to pick like you do on some of the other chargers. So if you're in the market for a charger, definitely check these ones out. I will leave a link in the description. I've been using some of the Ugreen stuff that I've been sent over the last few months now, and I've really enjoyed them. They've worked very well, so I do recommend checking them out. And moving on to our second product, we've got the Kimura Duo from Antlion Audio. So this is basically a very portable gaming headset. So if you're looking for something really small to toss in the bag that you can take along with you if you want to, let's say, play at a hotel and play a little bit online with your friends, or just maybe make a phone call, this might be a really good option for you. Taking a closer look at the product, you can see that you have 2 very nice looking earbuds, and one of them has a mic attached that you can bend, flex, whatever way you'd like, so that you can have conversations and the person on the other end can hear you a little bit more clear. The cords can unplug from the earbuds if you need to change them out. Let's say you damage it, you can just get a replacement, which is really nice because I'm pretty infamous for damaging my cords, so it's nice to have the option to swap it out if we had to. And now taking a look at the cord, we've got plenty of cord here. It's definitely not something that you're going to be lacking. It's probably one of the longer ones that I've seen. And when you finally get to the end of it, there is 2 plugins, one for audio and one for the mic, which if you're using in a device that only has one plugin, like many handhelds, there is a little adapter that's included. Then just make sure to line up the headphone with the headphone and the mic with the mic. They're both labeled, so this is pretty easy to do. And then all you got to do is plug it into your device and you're good to go. One thing to note is that the adapter that came in the box was not compatible with my Onexfly, and the reason for that is that the port is actually recessed into the case here. So if you're planning to use this with a Onexfly, make sure that you get a different adapter because this one won't actually plug in fully and your audio is going to sound pretty terrible. I had to do a double take when I first tried it because that was actually the first device I plugged it into, and I thought that the headphones were either broken or not working very well until I took a closer look. One thing to note is that if your earbuds are not fitting very well, there is other pieces that you can add on here that will make it a little bit more comfortable. I didn't bother switching to them because it worked fine for me the way it was, but keep in mind that you will have this option if you do end up purchasing and they're not feeling quite right. And lastly, this is the tiny case that you fit it all back into, so like I said earlier, it's very, very portable. Overall though, for the size of them, I found the audio to be pretty good for the in-ear monitors as well as for the mic, so if you're in the market for something very portable, this might be a fit for you. And as usual, I'll leave links in the video description. Check it out if you're interested. And a special thank you to Ugreen and Antlion for providing the products of the week that I was able to showcase for you guys. Alright, so let's jump over to the Steam Deck, and this time for real. For Steam Deck this week, we have 3 updates to SteamOS. So the first one came on January 31st, and we have just a very basic update. This update is for Steam input. It fixed the D-pad being unresponsive on some controls, as well as face buttons being swapped on some Nintendo Switch Pro controls. The second update that we have is on February 2nd, and this one's for the preview channel, and it's fixing some ray traced reflections in Persona 3 Reload, slightly improved corner tracking on the Steam Deck OLED trackpads, a fix for a possible session crash when connecting to an HDR display, as well as a rare session crash on application exit. And then we had another fix on February 2nd for the beta client, and this was all general fixes, mostly UI related. And that's the short and sweet update for the Steam Deck, so let's head over to AOKZOE. This week I'm going to combine the AOKZOE and the OneXPlayer update together, so just keep that in mind. I'll start off with AOKZOE and then I'll shift over to the OneXPlayer updates. So for AOKZOE, the update that I have is that the A2 has now shipped out, and I actually ordered one myself and I got my shipping numbers, so it should be coming very soon. So if you're looking to purchase one, they're not on the Indiegogo page anymore. Now you need to go to the AOKZOE store. So if you go there, you can check out what they have. The price is a little bit higher than it was in the Indiegogo campaign, so they start at $7.99 for the 32GB model and go up to $13.59 for the 64GB 4TB model. You can get this in green, white, or black. And as I mentioned before, I did purchase one, so if you're curious about this device, I'll have a review coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And now moving over to the OneXPlayer updates. So the One X GPU has also shipped out, and I also purchased one of those. And now if you want to buy a One X GPU, you need to head over to the OneXPlayer store, so you can check it out there. You can either buy it with just the device itself, or you can get a few different combinations that come with an SSD, so check that out if you're interested. I am really looking forward to testing this one out, so once again, stay tuned for that review. And what can I say? I've just been on a roll here. I also purchased the OneXPlayer X1, so that should be coming, I think, sometime after the Chinese holiday, which would put it sometime after February 18th, so hopefully I'll get that soon. That's the device with the 155H Intel APU, so I'm really looking forward to comparing that with the Z1 Extreme, the 7840U, and we can also use it as a measure of what we can expect from the MSI Claw. If you're interested in checking out the X1 campaign, it's still live on Indiegogo, so check that one out, and I will of course do a review of that and let you guys know what I think of it. If you do decide to buy the X1 though, I definitely recommend checking out the Discord server, because there are some secret perks there that you can click on that basically will give you some free accessories with the device. So definitely take advantage of that if that's something that you are looking to purchase. And that's all I've got for AOKZOE and OneXPlayer, so let's head over to AYANEO. For AYANEO, the only thing that I have to go over today is the new AYANEO Flip campaign that is now live on Indiegogo. There's a large number of different variations you can get. You can either get one with a keyboard or a second screen, and you can get either the 7840U or the 8840U. And on top of all that, you can either get 16, 32, or 64 gigabytes of RAM, and also various storage options. The basic version that has the keyboard, the 7840U, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a 512 SSD starts at $699. And it goes all the way up to the most expensive version that has the second screen. It has a 8840U, 64 gigs of RAM, and 2 terabytes of SSD storage. And that one's coming in at $1279. So if you're looking to purchase the first 8840U handheld, this is probably your option, because I think it's the only one that's been advertised and that you can currently purchase. I could be wrong about that though. As usual, I'll leave the links in the description, so check this one out if you're in the market for a handheld. It looks pretty cool. I'm probably more for the keyboard than the second screen. I'm not sure if I would be using the second screen very much. But if you picked up one of these, which one did you get? Did you get the one with the keyboard, the one with the second screen? Did you go with the 7840U or the 8840? I don't really have any updates for GPD, and I don't have that much for AYN, so we're going to call it here, as this video is getting a little bit longer than I anticipated. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.